In the first tutorial, we covered what the GSAR is, why the deviation was necessary, what actions buyers should take, and the additional guidance provided by a September 2015 supplemental memo. Now that we have provided a general overview of the deviation, the second and third tutorials will cover each of the key clauses addressed in the deviation, the conflict typically caused by each CSA clause, and the deviation remedy. The definition of the parties is a core element of every agreement. Commercial supplier agreements frequently name the contracting officer or accepting official as a party to the agreement. According to the GSAR deviation, when the end user is an agency of U.S. government, the agreement binds the ordering activity as the end user, but not the government employee or person acting on behalf of the government in a personal capacity. CSAs frequently try to incorporate terms and conditions that are located on websites by adding web links in the body of their agreements. The GSAR deviation states that terms may be integrated into a contract so long as the terms are included verbatim and are not incorporated by reference or by including a link to a website. Click wrap, browse wrap, and other mechanisms that try to bind the end user by clicking an accept button on a website will not bind the government or any government-authorized end user. Vendors are often required to indemnify the government if lawsuits are filed against the government arising from the use of the vendor's supplies or services. However, legal representation of the U.S. government in a legal proceeding is reserved by statute for the U.S. Department of Justice. The GSAR deviation stipulates that any clause requiring the commercial supplier or licensor to defend or indemnify the government is amended to provide that the U.S. Department of Justice has the sole right to represent the U.S. government. Many CSAs include automatic renewal clauses, which attempt to automatically renew or extend contracts unless affirmative action is taken by government. The GSAR deviation renders such clauses unenforceable. CSAs may also include clauses requiring the U.S. government to pay undefined future costs or fees. Such clauses could create an Anti-Deficiency Act violation. The GSAR deviation states that the obligation to pay attorney's fees, costs, or interest may be awarded against the U.S. government only when explicitly provided by statute. Some examples include the Prompt Payment Act and the Equal Access to Justice Act. Some CSAs try to require the government to pay taxes or surcharges. Generally, purchases and leases made by the government are exempt from taxes. However, the GSAR deviation requires taxes or surcharges to be submitted to the contracting officer for applicability determination prior to invoicing. CSA terms frequently establish payment terms or invoicing requirements that contradict the terms of the government contract. Such terms could create an Anti-Deficiency Act violation. Through the GSAR deviation, any commercial supplier agreement terms that try to establish payment terms or invoicing requirements that contradict the terms of the government contract will be unenforceable. Discrepancies found during an audit must comply with the invoicing procedures from the underlying contract. Often, commercial software publishers incorporate third-party and open-source software into the product they are licensing to the government. Automatic incorporation of third-party licensing terms could put the government at significant risk. According to the GSAR deviation, no third-party terms may be incorporated into the contract by reference. Incorporation of third-party terms after the time of award may only be performed by bilateral contract modification with the approval of the cognizant contracting officer. Please refer to Part 3 of the GSAR tutorial series for more information.